We are trying to foment change in collaboration and movement. We are doing everything that we can to change the balance of power on the environment. And of course, when I talk about California, I realize that while we may lead America and many other countries environmentally, Denmark here is already 1/3 more energy efficient. Isn't that fantastic? And Europe is a great leader on this whole thing. But the reason for discussing my adopted home state of California is because, first of all, I'm the governor of the great state of California, and I have a right to brag about our state, right? And also, California is the 7th largest economy in the world, and also America's trendsetter. So what we do has consequences. Now maybe even when you look at the globe, it is just a little dot, or maybe you cannot even find California. But the power of influence we have is equivalent to a continent. And we in California do not believe, and we do not behave as if progress has to wait for Washington, or Beijing, or Kyoto. In California, we are proceeding on renewable energy requirements and a cap-and-trade system for greenhouse gases. We are moving forward. As a matter of fact, we are making great progress. If hydro is included, we will get 45% of our energy from renewables in 10 years from now. And we are already at 27%. We are proceeding on the world's first low-carbon fuel standards and limiting greenhouse gas emissions from cars, which, by the way, the Obama administration has now just adopted. We are proceeding in a major way on green tech, no matter what happens in Washington or in Copenhagen. Billions of dollars, nearly 60% of all venture capital in America flows to California. And this is creating the critical mass of money and intellect to develop new green technologies. Leaders from around the world are coming to California to see what we are doing. I took the French foreign trade minister to a business in San Francisco called Solarzyme, which was just recently named the most innovative bioenergy company. They've come up with a way to convert algae into fuel that is 90% cleaner than petroleum-based fuels. The US Navy has just signed an agreement with them and is going to use that fuel to power some of its ships. So from what I see in the research labs and venture capital startups around the globe, I believe that the world's businesses will move to solar and to wind and alternatives much faster than the people expect. Kenya, for instance. Kenya already gets nearly 3/4 of its power from hydroelectric and from geothermal. 3/4. And next month it will begin work on a $760 million wind farm that by 2012 will increase Kenya's power supply by about 30%. Now the uplifting thing is that the developing nations will be able to leapfrog into the green economy and skip the fossil-fueled industrial revolution. Isn't that wonderful? I believe that we have economics on our side. Since the supply of wind and sun and algae is unlimited, their prices will not jump. That cannot be said of oil, the supply of which is limited and declining. That cannot be said of coal, whose costs of extraction and labor and transportation are bound to rise. So I believe technological and economic forces will overtake the political and the regulatory efforts of national governments. We are beginning one of history's great transitions, the transition to a new economic foundation for the 21st century and beyond. Shouldn't we organize to encourage this transition, even as we continue to work towards international compacts? Of course we should. Now, if this conference does not get the strong agreement, some will say that Copenhagen has failed, that we talked grandly, but we're fooling ourselves, much like the fairy tale The Emperor Has No Clothes. And others will say that any agreement that is being reached isn't enough because the world is going to melt and we are going to die anyway. And others will say, look at those crazy people trying to wreck the global economy. No, ladies and gentlemen, this conference is automatically and already a success. Kyoto brought the world's focus to what must be done. Brought the focus to the whole subject. We didn't know then what we know now. We didn't have as much experience with the science that we will research or the hurdles that we will face. But Kyoto made us think differently about the world. And perhaps the real success of Copenhagen is to give us the opportunity to think differently again. Perhaps the success comes in realizing that something different needs to be done, and in fact is already being done. It's being done on a sub-national level. And I would ask the UN to convene a climate summit, like Copenhagen, but for cities, for states, for provinces, and for regions. And I would be more than happy to host such a summit in California, or anywhere else the UN wants to hold it, but I recommend strongly in California. People like coming to California. Love our state. So ladies and gentlemen, the world's governments alone cannot make progress. The kind of progress that is needed on global climate change, they alone cannot do it. They need everyone coming together, everyone working together. They need the cities, they need the states, they need the provinces and the regions. They need the corporations, the activists, the scientists, and the universities. They need the individuals whose vision and determination create movements. They need everybody out there. So ladies and gentlemen, let us regain our momentum. Let us regain our purpose. Let us regain our hope by liberating the transformative power beneath the national level. That can be the great contribution of Copenhagen. That could be the great contribution of Copenhagen. So thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for your kind attention and warm hospitality. And thank you for the great passion and for the hard work that you all do. And it is very important that we continue with this work. So thank you very much, and I'll be back. Thank you.